Hey everybody, I'm Jill Redfern and welcome to Third Shift Movement Shop, home of literal technique. This tutorial is going to give you a very simple way to practice alignment of the arm bones. Alignment of the arm bones is actually derived simultaneously from two places. The first place is the 33 vertebrae and the second place is the shoulder girdle. So let's sort that out. The shoulder girdle, let's start there. The shoulder girdle is the collarbone, the scapula, and the manubrium of the sternum. The manubrium is not a separate bone, it's just a label on part of the sternum. The sternum is labeled in 3 different places and the manubrium is at the top. The manubrium, the collarbone, and the scapula make up the shoulder girdle. The humerus, because it forms the shoulder joint with a socket that's in the scapula bone, the glenoid cavity, it comes along. But the shoulder girdle itself is just the 3 bones. When you look at the 33 vertebrae in their anatomical curves, the ribcage barrel is directly attached to the thoracic vertebrae. Because the manubrium is an aspect of the sternum, which is an aspect of the ribcage barrel, the manubrium derives its alignment from the 33 vertebrae, and that's how our shoulder girdle gets connected to the vertebrae. So 2 simultaneous alignments that we need to be aware of. Now remember, in literal technique, the arm bones are the shoulder bones and the shoulder girdle. They're not these bones that, when we talk about moving the arms, this is what we mean. The arm bones are the shoulder bones and the shoulder girdle. So when we talk about alignment of those bones in literal technique, I'm really talking about a way to stabilize these bones so that when we move the arm in the shoulder joint, the humerus, we get our full range of motion. So we want to know how to find alignment there so that we can correct it when it's off. The shoulder girdle, if you've watched previous tutorials, please do. If you haven't watched them, please do. The shoulder girdle has 3 joints. Like other joints in the body, those 3 joints have movement. And rather than flexion and extension, like this elbow or your knee joint, the joints in the shoulder girdle have what's called elevation and depression, so this and this, protraction and retraction, which is forward and back, and then also rotation. We're going to take rotation off to the side for a second because rotation happens, for example, when our arms are up like this. We want rotation to happen, so we're not going to try to prevent that. What we are going to try to prevent are elevation, depression, protraction, and retraction. So let's figure out what those are so we can know when we're doing that. Taking them one at a time. Let's start with elevation. Elevation is when I'm going to take the collarbones up. The collarbones come up, so do the scapula. Depression, collarbones come down. You can see it slopes down. Scapula come down. Protraction, I'm going to bring the collarbones forward. Retraction, I'm going to take them backward. When I come forward, so do the scapula. When the collarbones come back, the scapula slide back toward the vertebrae. So those 4 things will prevent the shoulder girdle from essentially having neutral joints. And that's our goal when we're trying to stabilize the upper body when we're doing port de bras. We want, like I said, a full range of motion for the humerus in the joint. So let's do this simple exercise. It's really simple. We're going to stay at 45 degrees so that we don't disturb the shoulder girdle alignment, and we can start to feel where alignment is and where it isn't. So just follow along on this. I'm standing in rotated first position. So find your anatomical curves. When you find your anatomical curves, you should find the stability of the shoulder girdle because it's connected. And we're going to come up and open and down and up and open and down. Together, up and open and down. Again, up and open and down. So when you do this exercise, your focus should be on your collarbones. The collarbones will move the scapula around. They're anchored at the manubrium, and you can see when we come up and down and forward and back, it's at this point in the shoulder girdle where we're essentially you can see the movement clearly. That moves the scapula around. So I want to try the same exercise protracted. So bring your collarbones forward. Feel what just happened to your vertebrae. They're not in their anatomical curve anymore. So there's number one. We're no longer neutral. We're going to come up and open and down and up and open and down. Together, up and open and down. Again, up and open and down. So I'm noticing a couple of things. The first is a whole bunch of tension in my shoulder right here. I know I'm not in neutral. I know I'm not aligned. The other thing I'm noticing is the range of motion of my humerus just changed. It's just like out of a Frankenstein movie, right? We don't take those collarbones wide and feel the scapula drop into neutral, and now take the arm and feel how much different the range of motion is. Let's try it elevated, where the collarbones are elevated. Follow along, and up, and open, and down, and up, and open, and down. Together, up, and open, and down. Again, up, and open, and down. So I feel the same thing. The collarbones have moved up. They bring the scapula up. I've lost the range of motion in my shoulder joint. And I'm feeling a whole bunch of tension. It also has changed the vertebrae, the anatomical curve of the vertebrae. So as you start to get used to the scapula finding the neutral, because they're going to move the collarbones finding the neutral because they're going to move the scapula around, you can start to bring the arms higher and do the same exercise and see what needs to happen, see what it feels like. Eventually, what you will start to understand is that the movement in the shoulder joint is independent of the stability of the shoulder girdle. And we want to know that and take advantage of it when we get into complicated movement. So in your class this week, play around with all of this before class, just to see if you can find the open, neutral joints and the alignment in those two places. When you get into class and when you're doing the warm-up, there will be vertebrae in your warm-up that's probably more simpler than it would be as you get into a bigger combination. In those moments, really focus on your collarbones. Where are your collarbones? Where are your vertebrae? Those are the two questions you should be asking yourself when you're moving the humerus in the shoulder joint. All right, try that out. I'll see you next week.